All right, well, our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, is in the mix of things out in Harare. Let's cross live to her for the latest that is taking place there. Very good afternoon to you, Sophie. Mugabe has missed today's deadline of 12 noon. What has been the reaction on the ground in Harare?
Well, the Zimbabweans are still mum. They are waiting to hear from the leadership from different quarters, including the civil society, the political parties, and in particular ZANU-PF. What we do know is that members of parliament and members of the Senate of the ZANU-PF are currently in a meeting to finalize a process to impeach President Robert Mugabe.
Sophie, so what happens now? Will the ZANU-PF begin with their threatened impeachment process? And how exactly will that unfold, if you can just give that to us?
Well, as I indicated just now, they are meeting. They have started a process to impeach President Robert Mugabe. What they are doing is to get or to look at the legal process, but also to get information in terms of how many members of parliament will support the motion tomorrow. Secondly, they told us, in particular the chief whip of ZANU-PF, Lovemore Matuke, told us that they are ensuring that their case is watertight and to ensure that President Mugabe doesn't have any loopholes that he can use to try and deal with this issue, or to ensure that the motion doesn't succeed.
All right, and Sophie, very quickly before I let you go, we know that there's also going to be another SADC meeting that will look into this matter. In the meantime, has there been any word from the AU?
The AU issued a statement last week indicating that all stakeholders must come together and resolve the issue amicably, and indicated that the country must continue to respect the constitution and the laws of the country. In terms of the SADC, we know that President Jacob Zuma is currently in Angola meeting his counterpart, and they are preparing for a special Troika meeting. You are aware that last week in Botswana, the special Troika took a decision that there should be heads of government and state to look at this issue of Zimbabwe. And we are hoping that our colleagues Mzwandile Mbeje and Amos Pacho, who are currently in Luanda, Angola, will give us an update in terms of what's happening in Angola, where we are told that President Jacob Zuma is consulting and preparing for a special Troika meeting. The other issue is these are unconfirmed reports. There are reports that former President of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, is trying to persuade President Robert Mugabe to accept the decision of the ZANU-PF Central Committee to avoid impeachment. I must emphasize these are unconfirmed reports, but I guess later today, after the meeting of members of parliament and the Senate of ZANU-PF, we will be able to speak to the leadership of ZANU-PF, and in particular the chief whip, Lovemore Matuke, to find out in terms of what transpired at that meeting and how this matter will be handled tomorrow. But he indicated yesterday when I spoke to him that today they will draft the motion, give it to the speaker, and then tomorrow the motion will be tabled before Parliament. On Wednesday, a committee will be appointed to process the motion. Secondly, what we do know is that the veterans have decided or are mobilizing to ensure that tomorrow there's demonstrations. And then on Wednesday, many NGOs and activists have organized a shutdown, if it does happen on Wednesday, to really protest. We saw earlier on the University of Zimbabwe students refusing to write exams because they want President Robert Mugabe to step down. But let's remember, yesterday he indicated that he understands the role of the army and the decision of the army to embark on this process, but indicated that as that is being done, that must be done legally by his party. And secondly, he indicated that he is going to be at the Congress second week of December. And I guess if the current leadership or the faction that is trying to impeach President Robert Mugabe, they don't have numbers, it is going to be a problem because the Central Committee can take decisions, but the Congress can still take a decision to not support the decision taken by the Central Committee. So this battle, it's going to continue for days to come.
All right, and Sophie, a quick one. How is the mood on the ground besides, of course, the student protests? Has there been any protests or celebrations, as we've come to understand, on the streets of Harare today?
No celebrations, there's nothing to celebrate. President Robert Mugabe is still the president of Zimbabwe. He's still the commander-in-chief. You saw yesterday the leadership of the defense force greeting him and the salute. Therefore, it's business as usual. As I indicated, currently, I guess the Zimbabweans are waiting for the directive from the leadership in terms of what needs to happen. The veterans have already indicated that tomorrow they'll embark on the protest, and civil society and other organizations saying on Wednesday it is a shutdown.
Thank you so much to our foreign editor there, Sophie Mokoena, who's right in Harare in Zimbabwe.